Hey, and welcome to the Sit Down with Suzanne podcast. I am your girl, Suzanne, also known as Positively Suzanne. Now, remember, this podcast was created with us in mind. It is a reminder that not only are we worthy, but we deserve the best versions of ourselves. So grab a cup of tea or your beverage of choice and sit back and relax and join me on this journey. The minute I decided on the topic for this episode, I knew what the titles was going to be. And for those of you who have been to church, you will kind of get the play on words here. But, I thought about doing a social media post on this, and something just kept pressing me and saying, no, you need to do an entire episode about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. But like the minute I thought about it, the title came to me and it was Doubt is No Respecter of Person. This has come up a lot for me this week in the roles that I do, the folks that I counsel, that I connect with, that I speak to, and even for myself. And I was like, you know what? I have to address it. So no matter how talented you are, no matter how beautiful you are, how intelligent, whatever adjective you want to use to describe yourself, at some point or another, you've had doubt and you're gonna have doubts. You could be having doubts right now. Every single person have had to deal with doubt at one point or another in their life, and I wish I could say that I was immune because sometimes, we want to be immune from stuff, but I'm not because there are times that I have doubt, not about who I am, because I'm 100% 10 toes down firm on who I am and what I'm capable of. But there are times that I want something, or sometimes I have a dream and it's so big, it's so vast, and I know that God will take care of it. He wouldn't give it to me unless He knew that I could handle it. But even with all that, even with my saved and anointed self, even with my fabulous self, even with my self confidence and my self esteem that's through the roof, I still have doubt. There's sometimes things that I'm trying to achieve, and, I have some doubts. And I know how to self motivate. I know how to be positive. Listen, my name is Positively Suzanne. This is literally my jam, right? But there are times that the doubts creep in. A few months ago, there was something that I wanted. And, I did a lot of research and it was an opportunity that I wanted, but I kept procrastinating and procrastinating and trying to make this thing perfect because, the doubts started to creep in. Like, is this too much? Is this too soon? Is this really you? And, just so many doubts that kept creeping in. And I went about my day, but I kept putting it off. And when I finally decided that, okay, I am ready. If it's for me, it's for me, the opportunity was no longer available and I had missed the deadline. And it was like a punch in the gut because I doubted myself and I didn't go after it. And now I'll never know if it was for me because I did not go after it. And that hurts worse than if I had gone after it and didn't get it. Because if I had gone after it and I didn't get it, at least I'd be like, well, you did your best, but I didn't. I did a lot of things to get ready for it, to get prepared for it, but in the end, I didn't pull the trigger. And when the opportunity expired and I wasn't able to go after it, I realized that I should have gone after it anyway. And it doesn't matter if I had gotten it or not. But now I'll never know if I'd gotten it because the opportunity went away. You know, I'm not going to allow that to stop me ever again. And I'm meaning it as I'm saying it in this moment. And of course, I'm human beings and things will happen. But having doubts does not make you any less. It just means that you're a human being. And it's also important that we show vulnerability to others because they're people that look up to us, and them seeing us, struggle or admitting to vulnerability or weakness or whatever you call it, opportunities, they will feel better about themselves. And you're like, well, I'm not trying to help anybody, but you know what? we are often cast in the role of role models, whether we want to or not. And, especially for me, I know that there are a lot of people that look up to me, and I want to make sure that they don't see me as perfect. They don't see me as somebody who doesn't have any weakness or any doubts, or I don't want anybody to think that I can't achieve what she achieved, because we're all human beings. And I haven't even scratched the surface of what I want to achieve. So I really hope that when people look at me, they see somebody that, is living every day, doing their best, showing up as themselves, that will make mistakes, that will fall, that will fail, that will have doubt. But no matter what, I'm going to love on me, and I'm going to love on my God. But, we sometimes, I don't think we even if we're not chasing perfection, sometimes we do come off as perfect to others, because, when you are feeling down about yourself and you look at somebody that's achieving something, you think that, okay, they're perfect. They don't have any issues. And we don't truthfully know what other folks are going through. And we shouldn't need it to be something that we hold ourselves up against, because, we have no competition. We shouldn't be competing. But it is nice when somebody you look up to, admits to having faults, or, having doubts, because it makes you feel better. And, it's like, okay, we're all human beings. I grew up learning that you can't show weakness, that you have to tough it out. Also, as a Black woman, that strong Black woman trope, right? We're always told that, we have to be the savior. We have to save the day. We cannot show softness. Truthfully, the world has not often been kind to Black women, and there's not room or space for us to be vulnerable, for us to be, show weakness or opportunities. It's seen taken so poorly, and other people take it to mean that you're not capable, even when you have a weak moment. So that's how I grew up, and I am so grateful every day that I no longer have that mentality, that I have to power through it no matter what. Am I strong? Absolutely. But am I human? Absolutely. you know don't show your emotions. That is something that I grew up with. No crying, right? I'm remembering A League of Their Own. It was like, no cry, there's no crying in baseball, right? So how I was raised, you just don't cry. And it was something I always thought that crying was a sign of weakness. And what's funny? I used to watch these Lifetime movies all the time. And I think I've mentioned it on another episode before, where when I watch these Lifetime movies, I would cry because they were so sad. They're based on so loosely based on a true story. And that was my permission to cry and not look weak. And I would watch these things. I am so glad I no longer see crying as a sign of weakness. And I will cry if I need to. Okay. I am so grateful that I was able to release that, because my kids can now see me and know that I have vulnerabilities and I have weaknesses. Of course, they still think their mama is that girl. I think I'm that girl, but they know that I'm not perfect. They know that I have failures. And, I have conversations with them about things that I am trying to accomplish or something that I failed at. And I remember recently my 10-year-old was going through something. And, I was sat down and I had the conversation with her, and she was looking at me, and, we were talking about female friendship, and, this friend just wasn't being genuine, wasn't being honest. I know it starts so early, right? And she was just, disappointed. And, I said to her, I've experienced what you have experienced. I have, had friends that have betrayed me. I have had moments that I felt alone because I wasn't sure who to trust. And she looks at me because she was like, but, like, you're so popular, like everybody likes you. And I said, no, I've had moments where I have doubts about the genuineness of someone's friendship, and, why, and people have hurt me and spoken about me. And we were just able to have such an amazing conversation. And then we ended up watching a movie. And, actually, she had heard about Mean Girls. And I was waiting for a while before I allowed her to watch Mean Girls. And we ended up watching Mean Girls together. And we just talked about it. The first one, she loved the first one. We haven't watched the Mean Girls 2 yet. And she had heard a lot about Mean Girls from, I don't know where these little girls get the information from, but they're very well informed. And, we watched it and, we had a lot of conversations in regards to that. But allowing your kids to see that you're a human being, allowing your kids to see that you're not perfect and you're not chasing perfection will help them because they'll feel more comfortable coming to you and talking about stuff. They won't chase perfection for themselves. They won't feel like they're a failure or a disappointment or if they don't achieve something. And, for me personally, this was something that I was very intentional about because I've always strived. I've always been that person that strives for straight A's. I wanted straight A's, in high school, in college, in grad school. And I got them because I worked very hard, but there were certain things that came easy for me. And my one of my daughters, and I won't mention which one, but because they're listening, and I won't call her name, but she's not a fan of school. She gets her grades and she passes her class. And, her and I have many, many conversations. Why, why she gets the grades that she gets. And I'm like, a little more effort, you could certainly get better grades. But I have to create that space for her to be able to come to me and say, like, this subject challenges me. And then once we have dug down and realized that we have done the work, we have put the effort in and we've turned in what we need to turn in, it comes down to something she's just not as adept at that particular subject as she is at another subject. But for me, who's always like striving for A's and getting them, I wanted her to know that, like, that's not the expectation that I have for her. Would I like her to get straight A's? Yeah, but it's not realistic. And she's not the same student that I am. And she is so creative. Like the classes that she takes to are not the classes that I took to. So I had to work twice as hard. But creating that space for her to be able to come to me and have conversation with me in regards to when she has doubt was so important for me. And it was very intentional. So if you are having moments of doubts right now, if you're having moments of doubt about your abilities, if you're having moments of doubt about something that you're trying to achieve, just know that it's okay, that you're a human being and we all have doubts because doubt is no respecter of person. So I can encourage you in many, many forms. We know that all things are possible through Christ. We know that nothing's impossible. We know that you have no limits to what you can achieve. But there will be moments when you're by yourself, or even when you're in a room with others, you'll have doubt, wondering, can I make it? Will I make it? Am I biting off more than I can chew? But you know what? It's okay to have doubts. Do it anyway. Do it fearful. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Because as I found out recently, a few months ago, I wanted this thing, but I allowed the doubts to creep in and I didn't go after it. And then by the time it was no longer an opportunity for me to go after it, now I'll never know if I could have gotten it. Of course, if you go after it, you might not get it. And you know what? That's okay because it will teach you things. It will teach you what to do differently next time. So don't allow your fears and your doubts to stop you. And don't ever let anybody come to you and project their doubts onto you about why you shouldn't go after something, why you shouldn't strive for something, because folks will do that. folks will project their doubts onto you. And then before you know it, you start to think it's your doubts. So let it go. Breathe for a moment, acknowledge it, and move on. Don't wallow in it. It solves nothing. Let it go. Yeah, I know. I kind of took a long pause because I was letting it go. So I'm asking you to breathe and let go of the doubt because you got this. You can do it. You are that person. You are the right one. And if that opportunity doesn't work out, that just means that there's something better for you along the way. Do not allow your doubts to stop you from living your best life. Do not allow your doubts to stop you from going after what you really want. Do not allow your doubts to stop you from achieving your dreams. Because you want to know a secret? Even having doubts, you can still do the thing. You know that song, Angela Bassett did the thing. You can still do the thing. So do it with doubts, baby. And the victory might be all that much sweeter if you do it with doubt. But don't let doubt stop you. And I feel like this needs to be like reiterated. Don't let somebody else's doubt stop you from doing what you need to do. And until our next episode, I want you to think about something that you want. And you have been telling yourself that you're not ready for it. It's not the right time. And all the excuses you're giving yourself because truthfully, you are scared that it won't work out if you go after it. Sure, you might not get it, but what if you do? So don't allow the doubt to stop you. So think about what it is that you want and go after it. This is Suzanne saying, you are that person. I was going to say you are that girl, but I also have guys that listen to this show. So I just want to make sure that I'm giving y'all the shout out. So thank you all. And yeah, let's do the thing. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Sit Down with Suzanne podcast, which is available on all major podcasts and directories, including Amazon, Apple, Google, Pandora, Spotify, and a plethora of other spaces, including my very own website at www.positivelysuzanne.com. So choose your app and subscribe, listen, like, share, write a review. Do what you got to do, but make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend that this podcast is where it's at. You can also support the podcast by donating to the show at buymeacoffee.com/positively Susie. And until next time, this is Suzanne saying, you, my dear, are worth it.